we can see your own personal name again, not the organization's name or iPhone or something. And when the speaker presentation is going on, so you could have your cameras off if it seems that the it's too crowded, but you can at least have your microphones off during the presentations. And if you have some questions, though, you can then put them to the chat. And we have always 5 minutes discussion time after each speaker. And then we have a breakout discussion, and then we also have a plenary in the end of the webinar. And then here are the people behind this webinar. At first there were 5 persons, and now there is 4 of us. And I don't know actually where Ott is. He's not here at the webinar. But here is also a different team member from SCIAF. But anyway, so we are 4 Caritas member countries, and we are trying to make our own fundraising better and learn something new. And when we are learning something new from each other, so then we want to make these learnings also public for everybody else from Caritas Europe. So welcome to our 3rd webinar in this series. And today we are talking about fundraising with youth. We have 4 speakers around Europe, and they are telling different examples that how you could activate young people in fundraising. And you can write to the chat now about where do you come from and how you are involved in fundraising. And then if it's okay for you, so you can then pick some new ideas from the different persons around Europe, how to get new ideas and how to get to know new people. And now I can give the first speaker time to speak. So Neil and Michael, you can tell about Big Lent Walk.
That's great. Thank you, Laura. Do you want me to share the slides or?
Yeah, you can share. If it doesn't work, so then I can continue sharing.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, so let's get back to the start. There we go. Okay, so this is the Big Lent Walk. Just to introduce myself, my name's Neil, Neil Roper. I work for CAFOD in England and Wales. I'm the fundraising events manager, and I've been here for about 5 years. And the main thing that we've done in that time is what is now called the Big Lent Walk. It's not exclusively for children and young people, but it has very much developed as a product, as a fundraising event that we use an awful lot in schools, both primary and secondary. So I'm just going to kind of go through some of the bits and pieces to do with it. So the Big Lent Walk is a challenge, a walking challenge, where we ask participants to walk 200 kilometres in the 40 days of Lent. They sign up and receive a welcome pack, which so far has included a fun wall chart and laces. And if the person raises £200, we'll then send them a Big Lent Walk tote bag. Schools, parishes, and communities have also got involved, and obviously, particularly, we're interested in schools and children and young people in this instance. We use a Just Giving microsite for the majority of the fundraising. Just Giving is a digital fundraising platform in that's it's worldwide, but it's quite very much kind of based in England or in Britain. And if I just quickly click on that, no, it won't let me. So I'm just going to quickly show you the microsite now, not the Arsenal thing. Where are we? So I can't find it at the moment. I'll leave that. But when you look at the slide later, you can click on that link and see the microsite. What it shows is the number of people we've got walking, the amount that's been raised, and various other bits and pieces of how you can sign up and other information that is useful about the challenge. So the challenge is always part of our wider Lent appeal, using the same story. And we also have a film, which again I'm going to try to get working. Let's see if this works. I'm sorry about this. That. No. Yes, here we go. Brilliant. Oh, allow it. Sorry about that. Okay, yeah. So that's the video, and that's the Big Lent Walk kind of as it stands now. So I thought I'd just give a bit of history to how we got where we are now. So the Big Lent Walk started life in 2021 and was called the Walk for Water. It was originally designed as an acquisition piece to try and get more supporters for CAFOD. And the aim was to raise £80,000 and trying to attract 400 participants, particularly trying to attract younger supporters. The challenge at that point was 10,000 steps per day during Lent. The Lent story featured someone called Abdullah from Ethiopia, and his story was that he had to walk 10 hours a day to get water for his community. There was a video and images showing what his daily walk was like. So this was the microsite at that time. The one we've got now looks a little bit better than that. And this was me doing my walk for water back in 2021 with my wife there in our CAFOD shirts. And this was the leaderboard that we had for the Big Lent Walk. As you can see, an awful lot of people raised a huge amount of money for us. The total actually raised by the Walk for Water was £910,000. That's including gift aid. and it was so gift aid is money we get back from income from tax, and ended up being about 2,000 people signed up when we were hoping for about 400. And about 50% of the people that came through Facebook we know were from a younger demographic. So it really worked to reach out to the younger people. So it did really well because of Abdella's story of walking for water and how that linked in with the challenge and the cause. We invested a lot in promotions. We've traditionally spent about £30,000 on paid social advertising, mainly Facebook and Instagram, but some other platforms as well. Lockdown in 2021 made a big difference to how much was raised by that. And again, I've mentioned the film now. I won't show this one, but it's maybe worth having a look when you get the slides. So yeah, so then in 2022 we did the Walk Against Hunger, which although was less successful, still raised nearly 400,000. Um, in 2023 is when we developed the Big Lent Walk with an agency called Killer Creative. And this is where there's images of giants walking in the landscape, which again you'll see on the microsites if you do that. And so now in the third year, we're continuing to raise around about £400,000 a year, although about half of this amount comes from schools now, and schools do it in a very different ways. They tend to do one-off events or challenges per class where they use their daily mile or just kind of the regular walking that schools do, particularly primary schools. And then they raise money that way, either through the website or by people bringing in money on particular days. Oh, there we go. So yeah, that was a sort of a whistle stop tour through the Big Lent Walks. Happy to answer questions later, but I'll just hand over to Michael now.
Thanks, Neil. So I will quickly talk through how SCIAF are involved. So we joined CAFOD's Big Lent Walk in 2023, working to put it out to our supporters in 2024. In the first year, we had 22 schools, 39 individuals, two church groups, one youth group, and one SCIAF staff group that walked throughout Lent, and we raised £22,500. So SCIAF had been trying different walking challenges, fundraising challenges, but I think the opportunity to join CAFOD's already established product was one that we couldn't pass on. And there's lots of benefits throughout that, which I'll touch on in a couple of minutes at the end. But I just wanted to take you through how we redeveloped the schools aspect of the Big Lent Walk this year, to create a virtual pilgrimage for schools in Scotland to take part. And a very big thank you to CAFOD and Neil for allowing us to do that and putting our own take on it. So if you could go to the next slide, please, Neil.
Yeah.
So this year we created a virtual pilgrimage in line with the Jubilee year, Pilgrims for Hope, and asking schools to walk 2,000 miles from Scotland to the Vatican City. And we created an educational resource along the way, a digital resource so that schools could use it to learn about saints and servants of God. So next slide, please, Neil. So when schools sign up, they either sign up through CAFOD's Just Giving page or directly with SCIAF, and they will receive a welcome pack and this digital resource, which is in line with how SCIAF works in schools. Of course, we love schools fundraising for us, but our aim is to educate young people too. That's part of our mission in Scotland. So we developed this resource so they could learn about their faith as they walked and fundraised. Next one, please, Neil. So the benefits to partnering with CAFOD, as I said, using a well-established fundraising product which CAFOD created, which I, as a fundraiser, I know this is a very, very lucky situation where one organisation says, we have this product, do you want to use it? And we've done all the background work. So we're very lucky in that way. CAFOD created the platform with Just Giving for registration, and they have a lot of digital fundraising resources. But the main benefit is probably working with Neil with his knowledge and expertise and doing events like this. SCIAF is much, much smaller than CAFOD, not as much resource. So it's been really, really good to work kind of across Caritas and raise over £20,000 and try to grow it. So that's the aim, is to keep building on it and making the Big Lent Walk um, a brand name in Scotland as well as England and Wales. So it's been very, very successful. We're really happy with how it's went. I think that's me. So if there's any questions, we can answer them.
Yeah, do you have any questions? Now you time for questions. There's one from Hannah.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, how connected are youth and children to the church in Scotland, in the UK? Because the Big Lent Walk is of course very close to the church and the core principles. And in Austria, we do have the experience that if we make the topic of church and believing too big of a deal in our activities, it kind of pushes the youngsters away more than it attracts them. So I just wanted to ask how you perceive it for the UK and Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
Sorry, on you go, Neil.
Okay, so yeah, we're quite fortunate in England and Wales that the Catholic schools very much kind of embrace CAFOD and the Catholic Church. There's been a great deal of interest in the Jubilee resources that we've produced within Catholic schools. And I should have mentioned this earlier, but about 35% of the schools in England and Wales have signed up for the Big Lent Walk this year, which is amazing. You know, there's over 2,000 schools, which means that around about 1,000 of them are doing the Big Lent Walk in some way or other, which is really great. So I think we're quite fortunate in that.
Yeah, I would say it's the same in Scotland. So we have 80 Catholic secondary schools, high schools, and Jenna might correct me on this, but a few hundred primary schools, which have been promoting SCIAF and work of the church for decades. So it's ingrained in their yearly plans. And at Lent, they are encouraged by the church to fundraise for SCIAF and other Catholic charities. So very, very lucky, I think, that's always been the case. So yeah, that's kind of how it is in Scotland.
Thank you.
Is it Hugo's question? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I have one question. As we are part of a consortium in ACTS, we are always talking about how to sharing resources, how to make common campaigns and so on. And this is a very interesting idea that you made, joining SCIAF and CAFOD. And I would like to ask you, what was the beginning? How it started? It was something for the executive board. It was between fundraisers. How it started to build this partnership and then make it together.
Yeah. So what happened was back in 2023, I think about sort of May, June time. Is it Stephen? Is that the guy's name? Michael? Yeah, Stephen and a few others from SCIAF were down at CAFOD. I think it was the European meeting, and he got chatting with my boss's boss, and they started talking about the possibility of kind of working together. We then came up to SCIAF later in the year and had some more meetings about, not more generally than just a Big Lent Walk, um, about working together and working more closely. But the Big Lent Walk was the sort of practical outworking of that. And so that then led to us working together in 2024. And then, from having done that, we've then kind of worked through sort of a few issues to get to the point that we're now doing it again. So it was very much it took a while, but it came from that initial meeting back in sort of June 2023.
There's somebody talking. I don't know if that's from our meeting or behind the door. I have one question. So, does, for example, UNICEF or some else NGO have this kind of running or walking challenges in your country? Because here in Finland, UNICEF has a good contact with schools, and they have this UNICEF walk once a year.
There are a number of walking events around. There's actually, having done the Walk for Water in 2021, we then discovered that WaterAid also do an event called Walk for Water, which they're continuing to do. There's various different walking events. Christian Aid do one. So there are quite a few around. I think ours is the difference with ours is that we're particularly focusing on Lent. Obviously, we've got Lent in the title as well, and so it makes it particularly sort of resonant for Catholics because of the great importance that we place on Lent.
Yeah. Then it's now Hannah.
I have another question, actually. I just wanted to know, how's your contact with schools? I mean, is the Lent Walk the only kind of contact point that you have throughout the year, or do you have a regular kind of relationship with schools, work in further capacities with them? How is that structured?
Yeah, so we have schools volunteers who go in and do assemblies on a fairly regular go in sort of throughout the year to do that. And there are other fundraising moments through the year, but Lent and the Big Lent Walk are the most important. I'm actually not directly involved in the schools work, although I work closely with that. A guy called David Bryn is the person to speak to, and it sounds like it would be worth you having a chat with him, Hannah. So I'm happy to share his email. If you email me, I'll pass it on to him.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the offer. I'll take that up.
Yeah, it's same, Hannah. So our work is involved with the schools, and we have a programme throughout the year of fundraising points at Lent, at Advent, and Christmas. But the rest of the year is educational offerings. So teaching them about global development issues, teaching them about their faith. So we have lots and lots of stuff on the SCIAF website if you want to take a look, or we can send it.
Thank you.
And now, if there is not any more questions, so now it's Jenna's turn to tell about more how SCIAF is contacting schools with another example and talented fundraisers. So Jenna, you can start screen sharing, please.
So, firstly, apologies. I know I'm kind of squinting at the screen. The sun is unusually bright for Scotland today. We don't get sun very often, and I'm not very used to it. But hopefully, you'll be able to see the slides. Oh. Can you see?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, yes. Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you. Yes, so I am Jenna. I am one of the community engagement officers at SCIAF, and I thought we would share a little bit about one of our projects, which is called Talented Fundraisers. It's a project that we've been running for about 8 years, and we've had schools participating, and each time they've raised between 100 and 1,050 pounds each time they participate in the project. Within schools, I know Michael touched a little on it, and within most of our fundraising in Scotland, we take a relational rather than a transactional approach to fundraising. So we really focus on building relationships both with schools and young people, but also our supporters in general. As we feel for us, it works very well that way. So we have done the project with both schools and youth groups, but they are within Catholic schools and Catholic youth groups as well. And we are bringing the parable of the talents to life and helping to keep the fun in fundraising, which I think is very important when engaging with youth. So how do we do it? A SCIAF speaker, whether that is myself or Michael or Mark or one of our volunteers, will visit the school and they'll launch a resource by leading a short session looking at the parable of the talents. We get them to act out the parable and do a little drama, and then we have group work where we explore the themes of enterprise and how young people can use their talents to serve God and to serve others. After we launch this, we will entrust the young people with £50 to invest in their enterprise using their gifts and talents and time. We hope that they can increase the investment as much as they can. Just like in the parable, we encourage them not to waste it and to use their talents to make as much money as they can for SCIAF so that they can help their global neighbours in need. The project mainly runs from August to December, and it's very closely linked with the school's curriculum as well, because there is a huge focus on enterprise within the schools too. So we also, after the drama, will ask the children, we'll ask them about the kind of educational aspects of the parable, why certain people in the stories act, why do they think they act like that? But then we'll also go on to link that to what talents and skills that God has given them. They're very enthusiastic to tell us what they're very good at. So we have obviously lots of different discussions about what they're good at and how they can use that to help other people. We then speak about the work of SCIAF and our partners, and our hope in doing this is obviously we want them to raise money for us, but we want them to understand why they're raising the money. That's really important, that kind of educational aspect is always there in the work that we're doing too. So we provide case studies of individuals and the impact of their enterprises within that as well. So we share a number of individual and family case studies from different projects and give examples of the projects they're participating in and how their lives have changed thanks to their own enterprise, very much linking that with building a brighter future for themselves. So here you can see Godfrey and Sueva, and from participating in a SCIAF funded project, they were able to learn how to farm effectively, and then when they had a little bit more money, they were then able to start beekeeping and making their own honey and selling that. So we kind of link that and ask the children, how did they manage then to do the beekeeping? Because they invested within their gifts and talents. So we share kind of their stories and we also try to link it with, with the importance of educating women and girls as well within our work. And we give different examples from different individuals, as I say. We also like to give them these kind of figures on it. So £25 could provide the tools and training a family needs to grow their own food. So by giving them these tangible examples, we feel that it links better in the children's head. So they know we're giving them £50, but when they make more on that, even if they make £25 more, it's making a difference. So it's really important that we kind of give them these different markers to see where their fundraising is going. So we tell stories of kind of carpentry, of joinery, of pottery making, of starting their own businesses, and sewing, and these are all kind of images from different projects that we do. For the upper schools, because we deliver this to both primary schools and secondary schools. So in the secondary schools, we also have a video to show them. So it's only a few minutes long. So I'll share that with you so that you can get a better idea. Laura, can you give me a thumbs up if the sound works? Let's see.
ndikaona azizanga kumanga mungangati anyamata mtima wanga umakhala kupweteka. nasiravu JC11 ndimalima ganyu komanso ndimatungira madzi njerwa. ndimavutika kumbali ya mapezedwe ya ndalama kuti ndipeza bwanji ndalama yoti ndikagulire mwana sopo chakudya chimakhala chondivuta. anazalengezesa mafumu kwaziwisa kuti kwa achinyamata apite akaphunzire ntchito za manja. ndipo ine nditamva chimenecho mtima mwanga ndinasangalala kuti apa zili bwino, tsogolo langa lija litheka. ndi mmene ndinapita kukalembesa ukayamba kuphunzira. ineyo chimene ndinkaona ineyo ndikalakalaka nditaphunzira ntchito za manja kuti ndikaphunzira pakhomo panga samazavutike ndizangopanga china chilichonse mmene ndingafunire, chifukwa ntchito za manja ndizothandiza. palopo ndimatha kupanga chiseko mosavutikira. ndimapanga mafremu, mawindo sachi, anthu kumakondanso kusangalala kuti sikana uyo wapanga chinthu cha makono kuposa nyamata. ine panopo ndilosangalala kwambiri. ndipo ndimanyadira ndifika pa nthawi imeneyoyo anthu ankandiona khangati kuti munthu wachizimayi sangathe kuthekera kupanga chinthu, komano panopo anthu akuzindikira kuti munthu wamayi amatha kusakaso ndalama. panopo ndimakhala kusangalala kwambiri chifukwa kuti mmene ndaphunzira ine mwana wangaso azakhala ndi tsogolo lowala. kumbali ya chithandizo samavutikira ngati mmene wayamba sukulu, ngati chilichonse imene angafunire ku sukulu nditha kumapangira. uthenga ine ndiona kuti pa mzimayi wina aliyense ali ndi kuthekera kugwira ntchito za manja. palibe ntchito yoti iyi ntchito iyi ndi ya munthu wamayi kapena iyi ntchito ndi ya munthu wabambo. aliyense atha kupeza ndalama. kumanga nyumba zimayiso atha kumanga, ukalipentera omwewo palibe ntchito yogawa kuti iyi ndi ya uyu ayi. ndiye samaziweramire pansi azimayi kuti silingapeze ndalama. si nthawi yolira koma yoyang'ana patsogolo kumagwira ntchito mosaziderera.
Wants to play again. Yeah, so it's really important for us that we share these stories of real people in our projects, because we feel that the children, the young people are then able to link better. They're able to understand and see real people that have been affected by poverty and by injustice, and they're then able to feel inspired to help them. So we then give them the £50 and invest in their business's idea. So we ask them to kind of discuss, what do you think that you can do? How can you use your gifts and your talents to to help people across the world. So they then plan and deliver their own business activities and events. And they are able to then, through different means, whether they are making things to sell at maybe their Christmas markets, or maybe they are going to do a talent show. There's lots of different things. And I know I've just played a video, but this one's even shorter, but it explains our work. And this is what will show schools to try and encourage them to join talented fundraisers, and also to give them some ideas as well.
What we did is we made like things to sell and people come and buy them, and then all the money you make goes to SCIAF or a charity.
This year, you can use your gifts and talents to support people in some of the world's poorest places. SCIAF will entrust your class or youth group with £50 to invest in your own enterprise.
It brings to the children an opportunity to interact with charity work in a really fun and engaging way. They enjoy creating things and making things to sell at the Christmas fair. It also helps them to understand where the money is going to and how they can help around the world.
The money you raise will give people a hand up out of poverty, creating brighter futures.
Talented fundraisers!
Get involved with SCIAF's Talented Fundraisers project today.
So you've heard Michael's voice on that as well. But that is some of the work you see there is St John's Academy, and they're very good at doing talented fundraisers every single year, which is fantastic, and we really encourage that. This is an example of one of the projects that one of the local high schools did. And this was called Selfies with Santa. So they made Santa's grotto at their Christmas markets, and they got people to pay, I think it was £2 for a selfie with Santa. And they used, I think they had raised that year, it was over £300 for SCIAF. So every time we give people that £50 investment, we always, I would say probably 98% comes back at least doubled. So we're really seeing the kind of difference in that. And also the young people feel trusted with this money that we're giving them, and it gives them more of an incentive, I think, because they want to prove themselves too. This is St Keswick's primary school, and you can see here that they used their money to buy some paint, and they partnered with their high school to be able to have the technical teachers teach them how to make birdhouses, and then they painted them. They also used upcycled CDs and records to make clocks as well, and then they sold them on at their Christmas market. That's St John's that you've seen in the video, and they do lots of different things every year. But in this picture, they had just made Christmas ornaments for the trees and for around the house, and sold them at their Christmas fete. Their most recent donation to us from Talented Fundraisers was over £700, which is fantastic. And they've also done different things like bake sales, and sometimes they'll do the bake sale to get more money to buy materials for their Christmas decorations. So they're using their money very wisely, and always giving us a really great return on that as well. But yes, it's really important that we do encourage them to make sure they're having fun throughout it. We want people to remember the time that they raised money with SCIAF and remember how fun it was for them and for their class as well, or for their youth group, so that in the future they're more likely to give again and to support us further. But thank you. I think that might have been a bit shorter than you were hoping, but hopefully we can make up with that in questions.
Yeah, we have plenty of time to questions. You are just on time. Thank you. So I have one. It's not a question, but it's why I'm so happy that you have this kind of project, that you are also making children and young people to know themselves, that find their own talents and become wiser people. I mean, it's a beautiful thing also that is here.
No, thank you. Yeah, I think it's really important to us that, we're ensuring that we're getting good people as well, people that are very active within their faith, and that are encouraged to still support us as they get older. So again, all about the relationships for us.
Hugo.
Yeah. Thank you, Gina. I have a very practical question. So you said it started from August until December, right?
Yeah.
So you you talk with the teachers in the school, and when you go to how many times you go to the school, giving the sessions or coordinating with the teachers this kind of contents? It's your contents created by SCIAF, this the entrepreneur skills, or it's contents that the school creates for themselves to develop the entire project during these periods?
So we go into the school just to launch it. And then usually we will come back for to collect the check to say thank you. But we have created a resource that goes along with it, which is very linked to the Scottish curriculum within schools. So it is linked with the enterprise work that they're asked to do. So for teachers, it's very attractive because it's we've given them all the resources that they need, and they just have to build on that with their class. And it is ticking a few boxes for them within the curriculum and also within RE, because we're looking at the parable of the talents. And yeah, so we usually go in once at the start and then to say thank you again. And yeah, does that answer all of your question, Hugo? Sorry.
Do you mind if I ask what age group is generally most engaged with the fundraising?
I would say for talented fundraisers, we do get a good mix, but I would say mainly primary schools within their curriculum, but also I think from about fourth year to sixth year in high school also have a focus on social enterprises within their curriculum. So we do find a good mix, I would say, but I would definitely say we have more primary schools anyway than secondary schools, so it is probably a bit more primary.
You mentioned that teachers are also involved in the whole process. I was wondering if those are only religion teachers or in generally the whole school, or maybe someone, I don't know if you have a class that teaches about entrepreneurship.
So within the schools, it's only in Catholic schools that we do this at the moment, because it is focusing on texts from the Bible and on the parables. So it is only in Catholic schools or Catholic youth groups. So it's not, because we're very lucky that we've got a good number. So we've got 360 Catholic schools, I believe, in total. So it is something that's only focused there because religion comes into every age group being in a Catholic school. Just laughing at Michael's question. Great voiceover work.
Can I make one more question?
Yeah.
Yep.
One thing I saw, it's the documents or the tools that you have, the resources. This is very critical to work with young people. They have to be very attractive, very with colors and so on. So my question is also very practical. Who make this? The video, all the video that you made, it's really well done. Do you make in-house? Do you have an agency? How you work all these materials? Do you have a specific team to do that and see what kind of project or what kind of interview to make? How you make this? Thank you.
We made the videos, the Talent Fundraiser video in-house. We've got a very, very talented member of our comms team, James, who is great at making all these videos, and he's really good at kind of tailoring to the audience, I suppose, as well. So there's huge differences in his school videos and in his other kind of documentary type videos as well. And I guess we're just very lucky that he is so on it and is very good at doing it.
And then you have a graphic designer also in-house, or?
Yeah, we have an organization, now Anne might correct me on this if I'm wrong, but a lot of things are done in-house. However, we do also have a graphic design company that we work with that are very good to us, because I believe that they have close links to their faith as well, and give us very good prices, which is always helpful.
Yeah, that's right, Jenna. Yeah.
Laura, one more question?
Yeah.
Sorry, Gina. Do you have a partner, like entrepreneur partner or an enterprise association of like are supporting this? I don't know, as a association of enterprises or a strategic partner in these projects?
We don't currently have a partner. We do have kind of Enterprise Scotland that work within the high schools, and I believe in not as much in primary schools, but they do work a lot in high schools, and we have had crossover in a lot of the work. So some people will be doing their Enterprise Scotland work and doing Talented Fundraisers as one. But there is definitely, I think, opportunity to branch out and to have them look at it and give us some ideas as well, but not something we've currently branched out to.
Thank you. So now we have a around 10-minute coffee break, and please come back 11:35 CET. It's 12:35 this Helsinki time. So in 10 minutes, so you are welcome. Thank you, Jenna.
See you.
Thank you.
Great, Sarah, that you arrived.
Apologies, I totally misread the time zones.
Yeah, I have 3 different time zones in my Excel. then I was checking that many people who are speakers arrived 15 minutes earlier when it started, and then I realized in the middle of the first presentation, but you are not in. Then I sent you an email.
Yeah, apologies. I'm 10:25 a.m. So when
Okay.
I'm not even in your mentioned time that people are coming back for
Okay. Well, but great that you are now here. So I think because you have 10 minutes to wrap yourself and be ready.
Yeah, so when you mentioned people are coming back at 12, and so not easy for you to organize. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but apologies.
No
Yeah,
problem. You are here now. That's the
not
most important thing.
yeah,
Welcome.
yeah, not easy with different time zones and
That's
everything.
true.
So yeah,
And
yeah.
then the summertime changed here in Helsinki last Sunday. Then it was some new thoughts for me that how it's going to
I know
happen.
we were the same, so our clocks went back. So I was thinking, have I I must have got it completely wrong because the clocks changed.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I
Okay.
yesterday I asked Google that what is CET now, so then I can make the
Yeah,
adjustments.
yeah. Well, look, no problem. It's the joys of Zoom. It's easy to just log in and arrive.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
super. Okay, thanks so much, Laura.
You're welcome. After coffee break, so you can make your own presentation with your own computer. I
So
also
I
have the
just share
slides just in
you want me to
just in
just share
case.
my screen, will I?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem at all. I can do that. I'll just make sure so that that all works while people are having coffee.
Yeah, you can do it.
Okay, perfect.
Do you have a special filter? Because it seems that you are kind of painting.
I am.
It's fancy, but
No, I have no filter on.
okay. Well, it's okay. I can see properly, but it looks like a plating to my eyes.
Let me check. Um, oh, hold on, it has blur background on. Is that better?
That's okay.
Is that better?
Yeah.
We use we don't really use Zoom. We use Google or we use Teams, Microsoft Teams.
Yeah.
So um I'm probably not so good on on Zoom. But
It's okay. It looked just different than the previous full screen faces in this meeting.
so if can you see that then?
Yeah.
So am I presenting? Am I next or do you want me to close that down?
If you find the presenter mode,
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna come out of that and yep, so that's fine. So am I presenting next or is someone else next?
Yeah, you are next.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, this mode looks better, but I was wondering that how you could only show only one slide at the time.
Is that not showing just one slide? No?
There is also the next slide.
Okay, hold
showing.
on. So let me see.
Now it's better. Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
There is 3 minutes left, and then you can start.
Perfect. No problem at all. It'll be hard for me to follow Jenna now because I didn't put any videos in mine. So hers was really good with her videos.
Well, if you have any videos, so I can add that to the materials later.
I can send the videos afterwards, yes.
Okay,
I have
great.
videos, yeah.
Yeah.
I can send those across, yeah, no problem.
I also saw the LinkedIn postings about this Lent time collections, and it was great materials too in the LinkedIn.
Yeah, so I probably only put a really quick overview. I probably left out an awful lot, so I can share a lot of the videos afterwards. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. I think I just very much focused on the youth side.
And then there were photos where school kids were in some kind of lake or in water. That tells that when the water level comes higher, so then you are in trouble.
Yeah. I can share all of that afterwards. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah. Is everyone back?
I hope so. Welcome. We are continuing.
So I am going to take you through some of the activity that we do in schools. So I'm from Trocaire, and the country that we were focusing on in terms of the content in schools for this year was Guatemala. So this is a lovely picture of the children outside their school in a small community called La Paz. And this is in northern Guatemala. And what we do with the schools during Lent is we take a family and we tell the story through the family. So the children in the family are in this picture. It's easier for us when we're going into the schools, because the children in the schools like to link and identify with the children, and they feel that it's easier when they're fundraising for a particular family or for a particular child in a country. It can be very overwhelming for children to understand the enormity of what's happening around the world, and how they can make a difference. So for us, when we take a family in the context of a larger problem, we find that it helps with children in schools. So for Guatemala, our theme this year is climate change, and the impact that climate change is having on families that are already living in poverty. So that sense of it being a multiplier, so that multiplier effect, that it's pushing families further into poverty, and that these families don't have the resources to recover after one climate shock when they are hit with another climate crisis, and how they're just constantly being pushed further and further into poverty as a result. And so that can be a lot of information for children, and primary school children in particular, so up to the age of 12, to take in and understand. So my role is to take those themes and that content, and how do I put it together in a fundraising pack and into a way that is easy for children to understand, and for them. So this type of image, as you can see here, although we're talking about quite serious and devastating impacts of climate change, the imagery is still bright and vibrant and fun. The children want to get to know these children from Guatemala, and they feel that they are fundraising on behalf of these children and making a difference. So immediately you have that connection. So I suppose in terms of my strategy for schools, and for as I say, taking those very complex raising messages and bringing it into that audience. For me, it's, again, increasing the fundraising income, but it has to be in a very engaging way, especially for that particular audience, and developing a toolkit. So trying to make fundraising as simple and as easy for schools as possible. Teachers are incredibly busy. They literally want you to give them everything they need to fundraise, and they will support you. So it is trying to develop that pack with everything that they need. We're not telling them how to fundraise. We're giving them suggestions. We're giving them ideas. We're giving them, I suppose, the head start and samples, and I suppose we're just giving them, as we call it, a fundraising toolkit. And then the second part of my strategy is to strengthen the engagement. And so it is that sense of rewarding and recognizing the efforts of the schools. So schools, especially in Ireland, tend to have a little level of competitiveness, and they want recognition for the amount that they've done. Now, we don't, the monetary value is obviously important, but it's the engagement level with the pack that we're most interested in. And so for us, it's about that relationship building with the school. It's that long-term partnership. It's recognizing that working with a school year on year is more important to us than having a school who puts a huge amount of effort in 1 year and burns out. So it is that engagement piece, and that's a huge part of my strategy. And then obviously my objective is for Trocaire in Ireland. We have been quite dominant in that space. Our Trocaire box is quite an iconic box, and it is a real driver for the Lenten period as a way for the Irish public to donate. And for my role, it's about just maintaining that dominance. Now we do have some challenges with that. So I suppose unlike or not unlike most countries, people are moving towards a cashless society. People are looking for easier ways to donate. Putting cash into a box is not as simple as it used to be. And then you have that trust and that issue of counting coins and sending cash and the logistics of that. So while our Trocaire box is iconic, and it is important for us in terms of the legacy of how our Lent fundraising has happened since the 70s. We also need to look at ways that we can move our fundraising. I suppose a competitive advantage for us is that we have a trusted relationship in the schools. So church and schools are, I suppose, the most important audience for and donors for us at Trocaire. So we really need to mind those audiences, and we need to bring them on the journey of how we're fundraising is evolving and how traditional ways of donating is changing. So as I said, the country that we have focused on for our Lent appeal this year is Guatemala, and one of the cultural elements from Guatemala are worry dolls, and this was a real opportunity for us to link the Mayan culture along with the Catholic and the religious messaging of Lent. So in Ireland, we would have non-denominational schools along with Catholic schools. And for us, it has been a challenge to talk to the non-denominational schools because religion is not part of their ethos and it's not part of their school. However, a lot of the work that we do is humanitarian, and it is crisis-based, and climate change affects everyone. And so we felt that by bringing in the Mayan culture and worry dolls, this was an opportunity for us to send packs to the non-denominational schools and to have another pack that would focus less on the religious content and more about the theme of climate change, the work that we do, and link in the Mayan culture, which is important to the family in Guatemala. So by bringing in, I suppose, a big day of hope. So this year is the Jubilee of Hope in the Catholic Church. So it does have a religious connotation, but it also, hope is universal, and it does go across many of the audiences and donors that we work with. So it has been quite a successful way for us to start a conversation with a donor base that have been quite cut off and have not been open to talk to us because of our links and because of our religious roots. So I suppose in terms of as I was mentioning, our fundraising focus is to look at the new audiences, the non-denominational schools, and being progressive in terms of that audience and the potential that they are also concerned about the impacts of climate change, the impacts of the humanitarian crisis, the impacts of what's happening around the world, regardless of religion or faith. It was a way for us to get schools to register. So this was, we were working with the community in Guatemala to produce the worry dolls. And by asking schools to register ahead of time, this allowed us to order as we needed, and we knew that we weren't going to put our community under pressure. It was a way for us to manage supply and stock and to have, I suppose, a real-time view on the engagement level with schools, but also in terms of the performance. Also, the worry does, when we met with the family in Guatemala and interviewed the parents, the Catholic religion was very strong in terms of their belief. However, they did have Mayan traditions that were very rooted in their community, and they had long Mayan cultural beliefs, and they very much married together, so that Catholic belief and the Mayan culture. And so for us, it made sense that this was an opportunity during Lent this year to start that conversation with people about a Catholic organization also respecting and talking to communities and working communities of all spiritual beliefs and all spiritual journeys, and how our work is not just related to communities within the Catholic boundaries, that we our work is across many faiths and many spiritual or communities. And then I suppose our second element of our strategy was that relationship and that engagement piece. So a lot of work can go in, and I'll show you kind of the creative side of the packs on the next slide, but a lot of work can go into the creating and developing the packs, and coming up with fundraising ideas and how will it all work. And they can be sent to schools, but if the envelope is not opened, then how do you know that it's going to work? So for me, a huge part of the fundraising was, how are we going to track the engagement? How are we going to know if the packs were a success? How are we going to know if fundraising was something that the schools always did because fundraising was associated with Lent, or if it was because they had opened the packs and there was that emotional connection with the story and the content within the packs? So there was a number of points along the way of the packs that would allow us to track the engagement levels. So there was QR codes on the packs for certain videos. So we had climate, injustice videos, and I can send these to Laura. You can have a look at them. They're specifically for children in schools. And we had videos on our Trocaire Box of the children in the community. So just that interaction, say hello to the children in the community. So how many views? And then we had award submissions, and these were going to be linked to challenge cards. So this is kind of a sample of what was included in the fundraising toolkit. So obviously our Trocaire Box is our iconic box that's used for Lent as our driver for donations in church and schools. So that is our main donor base during Lent that would use the box. So again, the family is front and center on the box, and their story and the impacts of climate change is told on the box. So this part here, this is a leaflet, and it's an accordion style leaflet that can be pulled out as a poster. So it's talking about climate change in Guatemala. it's talking about meeting the family, seeds and what happens with your donations. Here's an idea of where your donations and what your donations can do. And again, we have some activities of what the class can do, and then some research. So here we would have, I know this is impossible for you to read off the screen, but we've kind of talked about some tropical storms and hurricanes that have really caused severe devastation for people in Guatemala, and just encourage the class to research these and for them to fully understand and to get involved. In the pack, we have these challenge cards, and the challenge cards are, I suppose, inspiration for the teachers in terms of potential fundraisers that they might do. So we had about 30 of these cards. So everything from, so here's our worry dolls, and we had called them hope keyrings to link in with our big day of hope. But you can see we had everything from a talent show to a bake sale. We had everything you can imagine, and we put them into the box. They were little like a deck of cards, and what we were doing was making it easy for the teachers to either randomly select something or for them to come up with an idea. On the bottom here, we had just for them to put their name and their school and the amount raised, and for them to send it back to us in terms of the award submission process. But also this was a way for us to track which fundraisers were most popular for schools, and to just get a sense of which schools are heavily engaged with fundraising and the level of effort that some schools, the capacity that they had for fundraising. So again, just a sample of the entry form, and then a little poster just tying in the family. But the theme for this year again is climate change. So you can see we were just bringing in fun climate icons. There's a lot of climate anxiety with the younger people at the moment. And some of the information can be overwhelming for them. So we were trying to bring it in a more fun and engaging way, and in a way that it would feel vibrant and exciting. And although, as I said, this is devastating for communities who are living in poverty, that it feels like they can make a difference, and it can feel inviting, and that they might want to get involved with a pack like this. So I have videos that I will share with Laura. I didn't include them in the presentation. I didn't know I'd be following a hard act from Jenna, so I haven't included them, but that's kind of an overview of just what we do in schools and how we work with schools. So I very much focused on that audience. But I'm happy to take any questions on this particular side of things, if anyone has anything they'd like to ask.
I've got a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, we're in a very similar situation to you in terms of, cashless society and how you go about that in schools. And I'm just wondering, what your kind of current thoughts and approaches on that are at the moment. Like we were like you, we've got what we call a wee box, and it's like it feels like how much are they being used now in schools, parishes, and from individuals, and it still feels like it's an engagement device, right? It's kind of part of who we are, but at the same time, cashless society, it's hard.
Yeah, we have had more and more requests for payment links from schools. So we are working with an organization called I Donate. And what they do is they set up a payment link for individual schools. And the school can log into this payment link, and it essentially sets up a microsite for each school.
Right.
And so the school can send this link out on any of their apps that they use for schools. So I don't know if it's Ireland specific, but for us, schools use Aladdin and they use BSware, and they that's how they contact parents. But when I Donate can link to that so that the apps work together and the payment links can be sent, and we're finding that that is working particularly well. We do try and keep the image of the box front and center. We do try and keep QR codes, although I am finding that QR codes are not being used as much as probably people think they're being used. I don't know if they're dating quickly or if maybe there's a lack of understanding around QR codes. We're also this particular company, I Donate. So when the school gets a login, they have a tap on. So if a principal, for example, has this, they get a login. It's linked to our account, and anyone who comes in can just tap on the app on the teacher's phone, and the money will transfer directly to us. And so looking at new ways along the lines of that has been something we've had to look into. However, you'll see here we're still sending out, and we call this the class box. And these are quite large. So we would have our traditional Trocaire box, which we would send out to our donors. And what we do is we make boxes that are twice as big, and we send them out to the classes, so that the Trocaire box is on the teacher's desk. It has fun videos, it has fun graphics on it. It's slightly different to the Lent appeal box. And so visually the box is still front and center. But definitely the donation behavior that we would have seen with the box is not there with the younger children in schools. They're not taking the box home, filling it with money and bringing it back. But we don't want to lose the Trocaire box. We still want it visible in schools. And so we also create, and I'm sure you have them as well, giant boxes that we send to churches and schools. Just they're fun. The children love them. They're not used for donations, they're used for brand purpose and visibility. And again, it's just back to that ownership of Lent, and trying to, we as I suppose we're rooted in the Catholic Church, and so it has always been the time where we would fundraise, and so trying to keep that ownership of the space. And so for us, it's that link with the Trocaire box and Lent, and it has to continue, but also bringing in, as I said, platforms like I Donate to give people alternatives, and using the box for the brand awareness. But I suppose you can't, we have to just accept that it is a move towards a cashless society, unfortunately.
That's really, really helpful. So thank you very much for sharing that. And my other question, just very quickly, I'm sure lots of people have got questions, but my other question was, are you seeing a trend of like lots of different charities going into schools? You know, you talked about Trocaire being dominant, and I think SCIAF was in that space a wee while ago. And I think what we're seeing is, you know, many more. So they might do activities, for example, but they might be splitting their money between 4 or 5 different organizations, not just passing everything on to SCIAF anymore.
Yeah.
So just wondering if
Yeah.
you've got a similar experience.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're seeing a lot of charities, and not dissimilar to yourself, have been very good at creating content that links with the curriculum, and the schools have been really good over the last number of years of introducing the SDGs and the work around that. And a lot of charities over the past number of years have linked schools activities with the SDGs and the curriculum. So it's quite a crowded space, and schools are inundated, and not just charities. So from a CSR perspective, a lot of companies are looking to introduce schools programs, and they're looking to, I suppose, influence the next generation from a sustainability point of view, or whatever their corporate social responsibility agenda is. And so they are also developing schools programs, and they are starting in September. And so what we're finding, because we've traditionally, so I'm the Lent officer, however, Trocaire does have a Christmas officer, and we do have crisis appeals. So we also have a team who are working on Myanmar at the moment, and you know, there's a lot of teams who work on a number of things. But just specifically from my point of view, I would start trying to get into schools from ahead of Ash Wednesday. But if organizations have been there since September when schools start, it's quite competitive, and I'm very late. But Lent for me has always been Ash Wednesday to Easter Sunday. And so from my point of view, from an organization, it's trying to say we have to adjust our timings, that we can no longer be so rigid in our fundraising times for Lent if we need to keep the younger audience engaged with us. So that's just something else I'm noticing.
That's really, really helpful. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you. And I gave you time to kind of speak more.
Sorry, Laura, sorry.
No problem, because we had extra time in our schedule for cases like this. So we can then continue talking with each other in breakout rooms after Hannah. So Hannah, you can start, and you have 15 minutes time.
Thank you. Is now the time to say that when I practiced, it took 20. No, I'm going to speed it up for you. Okay, so let's see. You should see my screen by now.
Yeah.
And now you should have full vision. Is that correct? Of the slide?
Not yet.
It's loading.
It's loading.
I think it's, yeah.
Loading, yeah.
So you tell me whenever it's ready. Still nothing?
Yeah.
No. Okay, great. Good. Thanks for inviting me again. I'm going to tell you a little bit about YoungCaritas, and especially our LaufWunder, which actually translate to kind of, run wonder or running wonder in English. And first, I'm going to tell you quite a little bit about YoungCaritas, because I don't think the way we handle work with youth and we've established it in Austria is the way that every national Caritas around Europe or the world does it. So I'm going to quickly introduce you to that and then talk about the LaufWunder specifically as our fundraising activity or charity run, basically. So who's YoungCaritas? Yeah, we are the Caritas youth platform and really the direct contact point for young people who want to get socially involved or learn more about social justice and solidarity. And our aim in that is that we want to bring social issues to life. So this is a nice marketing way of saying we want to connect youths with Caritas topics and Caritas activities. And how do we do that? So first of all, what we do have throughout the year, and what is a big pillar of our work, is the educational work. So we are throughout the year in contact with schools and do workshops at schools about the core Caritas topics. This has nothing to do with fundraising. This is purely educational. So we go in there and we talk about development, we talk about poverty, we talk about inclusion, living in old age, and so on and so forth. This is one big pillar. And then we have another one, which is activities and events. We have quite a few formats that we are working with. The LaufWunder is our biggest, though. And with this activities and events, it's always the possibility for youths to go and do a fundraising activity, so to get them involved in fundraising. And then we have another pillar, which is the voluntary engagement, where we kind of connect our youngsters with the Caritas facilities and give them the opportunity to basically get to know Caritas facilities, get to know the clients, get to know the work a little bit better. And we have quite a few principles. Actually, we always say we don't do fundraising, which is not quite true, but it's just not at the core center of our work. Our principles is that it has to be fun. I really connected with Jenna, really mentioning a few times, it has to be fun, guys, because that's something people tend to forget when they work with youngsters, especially if they want to engage them as volunteers or fundraisers. It kind of gets like one-sided, okay, we need you do that, but the activity itself must be a fun one, or otherwise they won't do it again. It has to be educational, so it always has to have an educational aspect. We really also try to make their impact visible. For example, if we get youth to fundraise and collect food donations for a Caritas facility, we often give them the opportunity to really deliver the collection to the Caritas facility itself. So there's also another contact point then, and they kind of see what they've created or what they've contributed. We don't just fundraise amongst children and youth. Actually, we don't take any of their money whatsoever, because first, they have none and it wouldn't be as ethical, but we engage them as fundraisers. And fundraising can never be the only purpose of an activity, though. So we always try to connect it with an educational aspect. With us, it's not like we're primarily working with Catholic schools. They are part of the schools we're working with, but not the majority. And everyone really is welcome. So it doesn't matter if you're religious, not religious, or what religion you have. Every youth or child that is in our age bracket, which is like 6 to 29, is welcome and can join. And our offers are free, because we really believe in, contributing and offering low-key ways of getting social education that is open for everybody. And what does that mean in numbers, so that you kind of get a sense of the scope of our work? We do more than 1,000 projects a year throughout Austria. Usually we work with 120,000 something children and youth throughout the year. We facilitated 3,300 workshops in 2023. So because I don't have the numbers from last year, not all of them, but I know with workshops, for example, it's really 4,000 now. So workshops is really a big pillar of our work. While doing that, we engage with nearly 8,000 multipliers, which are mostly teachers, but not only, can also be parish workers and youth associations. And we do have 2,500 action poolers. Action poolers is our way of voluntary short-term engagement, our kind of short-term voluntary engagement line. Good, so this is Young Caritas in a nutshell. And now I'm going to talk to you a little bit more specifically about the YoungCaritas LaufWunder. As you can see, here is a nice little picture of a run in 2022 that I've attended. I didn't make the picture, though. I'm not as good as a photographer, I have to admit. And our LaufWunder, we are very proud to say, is the biggest charity run for youth and kids in Austria. Because, of course, there are a lot of charity runs, but they are not customized for children. Most of the cases, because the big ones are really those who are actually customized for adults, but young people can participate in a way. But this is really the biggest one that is only done for youth and kids. We do have estimated 20,000 participants per year, work with over 150 schools, and we usually collect around 400 to 500,000 euros per year through the LaufWunder. How it works, it's really easy, which I think is like the benefit of this activity. So schools, because it is done for schools mostly, this is our target group. The school can sign up at our website or via email and can approach us. We then usually, I mean, it's handled a little bit differently throughout Austria because every diocese and Caritas does it a little differently. But usually we go to the schools after they registered and we hold a presentation about the fundraising projects. We pre-select them, so it's usually like 3 to 5 projects that we present to them with different, in different regions and areas. Mostly we do have present projects that involve children and youth in poverty or in need, because it's close to them, it's close to their reality. And then we go there, we have a presentation, and then the school or the class, depending on the format, picks the fundraising project or 2 fundraising projects that they want to contribute to. We then support the schools with all the materials and that they need, and at the run itself, if wanted. And then what happens is that every participant, so every school kid, gets to go and search for sponsors. So sponsors for a kid is mostly like the parents or the grandparents, aunts and uncles, close family friends, the adults around the kid, mostly are in the kid's environment. And they kind of have a talk and they agree upon a certain amount of money that the sponsor is willing to donate per round that the kid is running. So for example, if grandpa says, I'll give you 10 euros per round you're running, little Mariam here in the picture would already have raised 70 euros just from grandpa, if I counted correctly. Yeah, I think 70. And in the best cases, of course, they have multiple sponsors, and then, it adds up. And at the day itself, when the run is implemented, the kids just run as fast as they can, trying to get as much leaps in as they can. It really isn't about also the amount of donation that they get from each sponsor. It doesn't matter if it's 10 cents. It doesn't matter if it's 20 euros. If they don't have sponsors, if they don't find any, of course, they can participate as well. So we really look for inclusion in every way. And how do we support schools? As Sarah already pointed out, schools and teachers are busy. They want to be guided through and they want to be taken care of. So other than the presentation of the fundraising projects, we also provide them with info material for the parents and the Parents Association. So for example, they get a little letter from us which describes what the LaufWunder is, what the kids are going to do, how they are contributing, so that the parents are informed and involved, and they are always, or most of the times, they are also invited by the schools to attend the run, which is really nice. And then we also provide the schools with some legal information about how to organize a run, if they want to do it in a public space, what kind of insurances do they have to check, what is like the data security they need to take care of if they want to make pictures there, and so on and so forth. And then we give them a sponsoring list for the participants, where really every child can write down the name of the sponsor and like the agreed upon amount of payment per round. And this is for the kid then to handle. And then we provide them also with marketing materials. So if they want to kind of create a little bit of buzz in the school about the run, they can have posters, or also for the area surrounding the school, posters that advertise the run itself. We also have folders where the projects are described, and the run itself and the mechanisms of the run are laid out. And then we do have, in some dioceses, we have some a little bit fancier stuff with those huge inflatable arches that I love, or those flags that also give them a little bit of Young Caritas brand identity, which is really nice for pictures and stuff. And then they get the racing numbers, which they can use at the race. The racing numbers are there to kind of mark the rounds that they've been running. So you can see every time a kid passes the arch or the goal, the finish line, a little mark is made on this racing numbers on the t-shirts, and then you know how many rounds they've run. And we also offer to be at the run itself and do some moderation of the run, and some documentation by making pictures and videos. And in the end, the participants, the kids, get a nice confirmation letter, and as soon as the donation has arrived, the school gets a thank you letter as well, saying thank you for your contribution. So it's really nice, well-rounded. And the great thing about the LaufWunder is that it comes custom-sized. So really it's upon the schools to decide how big or small the run should be, and they are allowed to pick the setting. This wasn't always like that, but I will come to that later. But really, if they want to have a quick LaufWunder in their phys ed hours, it's doable. They can totally do it. And then it's done in 2 hours, and it's very low-key and easy and finished, and still they contributed something pretty great. Or if they want to have it big with the whole school participating, it's also nice, and we will be there to guide and support them through. They also decide on the level of involvement of Young Caritas. Some schools say, we do it for ourselves, it's fine. We will be there, we do the moderation and the hosting, and some of them are really happy if we are present and guide them through this. In the past, we had a different mode. We really had one central run. So every school that signed up was then invited to a specific, location on a specific day. And then we just we did a timetable when the schools could arrive to have the run there, but it was fixed by us and done and organized by us. Usually we had a little bit of a surrounding program as well, maybe some music act or maybe some celebrity, even if we managed to get one to kind of get a little bit of a buzz. And then basically Corona happened, and those big runs with lots of people there weren't an option anymore. And then we needed to kind of refigure or redesign the LaufWunder. And what we did then was that we decentralized it and really said every school can do it at their sporting ground or at the close park nearby, but every school does it whenever they want, where they want, on a day pick. That's it. And it really resonated well with the schools that we worked with, because of course they have a lot more flexibility now. They don't need to organize buses to carry the children somewhere a little bit more far away, because that's where we decided to implement the run. So this is nice for them. And and it can be grand or it can be small. So this really paid off. We do have currently a mixed mode of how we do this LaufWunder. Some dioceses still have a big central run. Some only have decentralized runs, and some offer both. So it depends on the region. And our implementation timeframe is usually from April to October. So we really start in April. And then in summer, of course, when there's no school, there are also no LaufWunders, but some schools really rather prefer to do it in autumn because it's not as hot anymore and because it fits more to their schedule. So it really takes a huge part of a year is LaufWunder implementation. And what's really essential for us as well, all runners, all walkers, all bike drivers really are welcome. You don't need to run. If you're not able to run, you don't need to. You can walk, it's fine. We don't care if you go by bicycle or if you have your skateboard there, it's all welcome and fine. And it doesn't have to be about your individual contribution. We don't make a big fuss. We don't select any winners or count who's run the most leaps. We don't do that at all. We really focus on the joint effort that the kids put out. And if someone's run 3 courses, that's fine. If someone's run 15, also fine. So we really try to make it as inclusive as possible so that everyone can attain. And we do try to partner up on an Austrian-wide level, but also very much on a regional level. So at the moment, we have for, I think, like 10 years now, a general sponsoring from a credit institute in Austria, which kind of covers a bit of our basic costs, not everything, not nearly everything of it, but it gives us some budget to kind of print materials, you know, work with agencies, layouts as graphic designers, print posters and stuff, and pay some staff hours. So this is nice. And then in the different diocesan caritas, we also work, sometimes some of them work with regional media partners, local newspapers that are supporting them, providing them with, for example, those inflatable arches as well, and doing 1 or 2 articles beforehand or afterwards to raise some attention for the run itself, which is great. And then because it's kind of a summer activity, mainly a summer activity, it's always really hot. I don't know. I've attended 4 or 5 LaufWunders. It's really hot. And I don't know how these kids still run in this kind of heat, because I wouldn't, but they do, and I admire them for it. But to kind of, you know, have a little treat for them, we always try to partner up with some local suppliers, grocery stores who, you know, donate some apples or juices, bakeries or ice cream supplies. This was the greatest thing. This was 2022 with the ice cream supplies. I really loved that. And then the kids, after they had this exhausting run, can go there and have an ice cream and sit there in the sun and have a great day. Yeah, this is really the LaufWunder in a nutshell, basically. Thank you so much for your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And now I decided, because I looked at, there is 14 people here, so we are not perhaps going to the breakout room, so we can then discuss all together here at the great plenary. So if you have questions, so please.
I have one question. Can I? Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Anna. It was really inspiring. I have one question. It's related with the diocesan involvement. Okay, somehow you mentioned that there are diocesan runs, and also they are split in several schools. How is the diocesan involvement in how they choose, how they involve? What is the interaction with the Caritas Austria? How can you go deep there? Because to understand how can I, we have 20 dioceses. If I want to choose this model, how can I involve them, and what are the best practice? You know, a little bit of.
Yeah. So thank you for the question. Basically, it's in Austria we are a little bit smaller, which makes it easier to collaborate on certain things. And really, our diocesan Caritas is they're like their own organization, and as Caritas Austria, we are only kind of the, what's it called, roof head organization, or you know what I mean. We are the head organization, whatever, the Austrian-wide organization, and we really do everything to manage projects that are collaboratively done across Austria. So basically everything that it has to do with implementation is done at a diocesan level. So for example, the Diocese of Vienna, the YoungCaritas there, they do their runs in Vienna, and then we have someone in the south of Austria, in Carinthia, and they do their runs there. And my role basically is to coordinate this. So we are talking about timings, we are agreeing upon a visual identity, we are sharing best practices. I'm the main contact point for our general donor or sponsor in that sense. And we're just trying to really exchange ideas every year and see how we can develop this charity run further. But really implementation is done at the diocesan level, and I only try to attend every year to 1 or 2 races, runs, because it's nice for me to be out there and not only in front of my laptop, and you get a better sense of the activity itself when you're present. But really maybe the first step would just be to take the format, inform the diocesan Caritas about this, and see who's interested, and then gather them around and try to coordinate and exchange and build up this activity. But it's easier said maybe for us because we already do this on various activities and levels.
Sorry, can I just add another question? When you said the involvement of the action pool, so the Young Caritas, is so each diocesan has their own Young Caritas and volunteers, and also do you also have for Caritas Austria a pool for the national, or no? This is really in the diocesan level.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, got it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the questions. Sarah.
Hi, that's incredible. Well done. It looks amazing. Did you find that the larger central event before COVID worked better, or has the decentralized events suited people in terms of your donations, you know, which has worked better for you?
In terms of donations, it really didn't make so much of an impact, didn't leave so much of an impact. But of course, from a marketing perspective and to raise awareness, it's quite nice to have a big run, you know. So from my perspective, I'm always, because I have to market it to the Austrian-wide kind of public, I always try to encourage them a little bit. Do a central run, and you can have the decentralized ones as well, because it's easier to market and to create a buzz around. But in terms of donations, it didn't make we didn't feel any movement in the donations. What we do feel, but this is of course I think universal for Caritas itself, whenever there's a humanitarian crisis, then we take this on as a project, as a fundraising project at LaufWunder. This always works very well. So for example, with Ukraine, we had our record donation of, I don't know, 500,000 euros, which was really big for us. But yeah, those are the things that kind of move the needle on the donations a bit. The mode itself, not so much.
And how many years has this been going for?
I think 15 now. Yeah. So it's really quite, the schools already know it, because we also have some competitors in the field, you know, just other NGOs who do also charity runs. Charity runs are nothing new. You know, they are a format that is very well known. We are not the only ones doing it, but we are doing it on a very good quality for quite some time. So I think that's why the schools always come back.
Yeah, your presentation was great. Thank you so much for that.
No, thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
I have another question. What are the first target group? I mean, what are the age that participants run more? It's the primary, it's the secondary. Do you have an idea?
I have to translate it to my Austrian. Secondary school is like 10 to 15 years old.
Secondary, it's like 15 to 17.
15 to 17. No, I
primary,
think
it's in the primary for 6 to 10 years.
Yeah.
The basic, we call basic, yeah. The other.
Yeah, so I think the most, we have the most runners in the age bracket of 10 to 15.
10 to 15.
But we also engaged a little bit more the primary schools, which is so nice because it looks so super cute when the little ones run. It makes very good communication material as well because they're just adorable. And it really works well also in the more rural regions of Austria to engage the primary schools. Yeah.
I have a question. Again, thank you for the beautiful presentation and an amazing idea of fundraising. My question is centered around, how should I say it? You mentioned that it isn't the goal to get the funds. That's not the main purpose of it. But I'm wondering, what happens if you have a school with, I don't know, let's say 100 children, and then 3 or 4 or 5 of them live in poverty? So, have you noticed that there is any like negative feedback from those children who maybe want to participate, but they can't find the sponsors, or any negative feedback in that sense? Have you had it?
No, not that I know of. I know that it was, for example, a little bit of our sponsor was asking these questions as well, being like, is it accessible enough? What do you do with the children who are not supported as well from home financially? And basically we always try to talk to the teachers beforehand and see how the class is set up, and really tell them also that it really doesn't matter if there is any sponsor on the list or if the contribution is 1 cent. So we really try to get the teacher on our team as well and make sure that they also know that there's no kind of we don't expect them to deliver anything really. If they just contribute, if they just run, it's fine with us as well. And we try to check that beforehand and hope that the teacher also kind of takes this mood or takes it back to the class so that everyone feels invited to run, no matter where they're from or what's their background. Yeah, but of course, with these things, it's always, for example, we had the LaufWunder. We've established that in the year 2020 when we couldn't have the runs. It has the same mechanism, but it's about reading books. So per book that you've read, you get a certain amount from your sponsor. And there was also like, yeah, but what about the kids who don't afford books, who can't afford books? Is it accessible enough? So I think it's always very, very important to ask those questions beforehand when designing an activity and making sure that it's taken care of in a sense. But yeah, of course. And we do have a lot of schools where the children don't have a super wealthy background at home. But I think for them, it's also great to see that they can still contribute, because we make a big fuss about what they are doing on this day, and it's really worth our admiration. And then they still leave and have a sense of, wow, I did something. I feel empowered and I've contributed and changed something a little bit. Yeah.
It came out another question. Just to make a little bridge with Sarah presentation. She was pointing out how is important for the school the awards, the recognition, and all that process. How do you make in the end of these runnings? Do you send a thank you letter? Do you have a diploma? Do you have a specific moment to thank them? What do you think? What do you have planned for that?
Yeah, we have so the kids get a confirmation of participation, and then the school gets the thank you letter. But what we also do, we communicate about it on our social media channels. So a lot of schools also have their social media channels established now, and then we tag them, and then we post pictures of the run and really say like, great effort, you've raised, I don't know, 15,000 euros. What a great contribution. So we kind of say thank you in that way. Yeah. And I was, for me, it was very, very funny that Sarah, or not funny, but interesting that Sarah said that it's a problem, this cashless society that we are living in, because we just recently did a market research on Austrian donors in different age brackets and how they donate. And I thought for myself, because that was my stereotype, okay, the young people, I think it was like 16 onwards or something, they will probably use social media for donation or online donations. But the biggest part of them really donated door-to-door donations, which was for me astonishing. I wouldn't have thought that this was a thing for young people and that this would really work, but it does. In Austria, it still does. It really surprised me.
At what age does young people get some kind of credit cards or bank cards or some kind of mobile paying things in Austria?
I think it differs, but I would say like 15, 16 is a normal age to get your small bank card.
I would say in Ireland, we have a Revolut, which is I'm not sure what is comparable. It's an app. Someone please say they know what Revolut is. But in Ireland, most children aged 10 or 11 are on their parents' Revolut account, and they have it on an app and they just tap.
Yeah.
And it is a behavior from, I would say, 10 or 11. My daughter is 11 and she is Revolut, tap. I would say friends and family give gifts, they would Revolut. It's nearly become a noun that they say, I'll Revolut you the money. So that's how it's going in Ireland.
Yeah, that's a different setup here.
Yeah. It's not good for fundraising in Ireland.
Yeah, for example, here in Finland, my youngest children are 10 and 11 and they use cash, or then they just do some Apple Pay in their gaming sessions. They buy some game extra features to their games, but it's how they spend money.
Yeah.
I put some general discussion questions to the chat. For example, why should we involve youth in fundraising activities?
I think, sorry.
Yeah, you can.
I think it's really important to make sure we're always involving youth because they are donors of, the next few years, and constantly keeping that kind of focus on them and letting them know how important they are to us will really they'll feel treasured, they'll feel important when they are becoming our next adult donors, once they have jobs and things as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we've definitely identified that schools are important, and to establish that sense of pride in giving and charity and the awareness of where your donations are going and the difference that you can make. And again, it's back to showing them where they can make a difference, and not presuming that children are too young to understand. They're very capable of understanding world issues. And also, I definitely feel in a world where they consume an awful lot of messaging on TikTok and other social media platforms, it's important they're getting the right information directly from charities and directly from the organizations that are on the ground, and always look for the good, and sometimes the good are the people on the ground doing the work. So in a bad situation, so as I said, there is a lot of climate anxiety, and there's a lot of anxiety with the youth of what's happening around the world. And so if our teams who are around the world are the ones who are on the ground helping and doing the work, let's show the youth where their money has gone and the work and the difference that they're making. And I do think that they can be very passionate about that, and it can transfer then to their parents, you know, if the child is quite passionate. So for me, that's what I would always say. Look for the people on the ground who are doing the good work, and it's your donations that allow that to happen. So I think it's a positive message for the youth.
Yeah.
Can I make a question, maybe to Sarah and Anna, and Anne as well, for the project, because I was wondering. Okay, we were talking about schools, and but especially with YoungCaritas in Austria, and I was here wondering if somehow do you involve the scouts, or if you have a close relationship with the scouts, or they are not a strategic partner on that? Maybe for more to the YoungCaritas, not in the schools, because the scouts is something for specific for parish. But are they here a key actors in getting involvement and getting more participants?
I don't think so, or I've never heard about it from my diocesan Caritas. I think they are connected, surely, and there are some networking meetings taking place, but I don't think we really use them as strategic partners in that sense. We tried to partner up with more of the Catholic schools 2 years ago, because there was a bit of irritation in Austria because the Catholic schools didn't pick Caritas for the charity runs, which of course was, how dare you, you know? There was a big no. But we tried to partner up with them and to kind of to broaden our audience and create some attention about the charity run. But in general, it really is like this. We don't have enough staff resources to cover more runs. So our staff in the diocesan Caritas is really maxed out for the LaufWunder implementation. So really, if we would get more schools on, we would really need to amp up our staff hours here. And that's then tricky again, because we would need, where does the money come from? And I think, and that's the challenge for me, looking at the questions in the chat, as YoungCaritas, since fundraising isn't our top priority, but happens on another level, basically. What we do is that we kind of make Caritas ready for the future. You know, we kind of try to keep the connection to the young people and create the donors of the future. But of course, it doesn't pay off as well as any fundraising campaign. You know, we basically have, of course, we have this 400,000 euros for the LaufWunder, which is great. But if you look at it from a fundraising standpoint, we are tiny. Our contribution is tiny. So you always have to kind of argue why we are needed, because a lot of money is poured into us and not a lot of fundraising money is coming out because it isn't our focus. So internally, we always have to kind of rally and say like, okay, it's really important also at this time where democracy is at stake, or somehow it feels like that, to really get kids socially educated and get them on our side as our allies for the future. But it always needs to be reminded inside Caritas that it's worth to invest in us, although it might pay off later, and not in the moment.
I think from a Trocaire perspective, we actually struggle because in a lot of instances, because of our link with the Catholic Church, it can be a barrier for us. There's a lot of organizations that are multicultural and or non-denominational, and there can be pushback that they don't want to be associated with a charity which can be seen as predominantly Catholic. So for working with the Scouts, for example, if there's children of other religions, it may cause difficulty for parents, or there might be a misunderstanding of what that level of religious link is. And so it's not something that has been an opportunity for us. And so similar to the other speakers, we tend to have a good relationship with the Catholic schools. And that's why this year, for me in particular, the challenge was to try and develop content outside of the usual religious Lent content, which was trying to link with Mayan heritage and culture that may allow us to start a conversation with a school that isn't religious based. But it is a slow process, so it's not as easy for us to link in with other youth organizations. It tends to be more complex than that.
Mm-hmm. I was interested that does Catholics then say that why you are taking this Mayan culture as an example, that it's not religious? Do you have problems with that?
Yeah. I was told my worry dolls look like voodoo dolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
It is. I have sent the worry dolls, and I have a sample of one here, beautifully handcrafted, and they've come back in the post to say, I'm not signing up to this gimmick, and everyone is entitled to, have, for me, it's about picking, then perhaps it's not suitable during Lent, perhaps it has to be at a different time of the year. But it's also being respectful that when we go out to a community and we interview a family and we have them as our family who need our support, it is also respecting that while they are very much Catholic, they do have Mayan traditions as well. And we don't edit the stories. We don't change the facts. We very much put it out as it is. And we don't embellish or we don't do anything. And so it was true to their faith, and so it fit at the time. But look, you're going to get people who love it and people who hate it.
Yeah.
And that's why 1 year you think your fundraising is going to be a hit, and then the next year people will hate it. So I don't know, you just have to be thick-skinned, I suppose.
Yeah. You are really flexible, and it might be that if you do that, so some other people get angry, or vice versa.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, our church team told me I was sending out voodoo dolls. Yeah. But but they've just totally insulted the whole of Guatemala. But look, what can you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any more questions?
Already made a lot of them, Laura. I
Yes, you
finished my
did.
stock.
Thank you.
I don't have more.
Yeah. I put the feedback form to the chat. So if you could please fill the form, and then in a couple of days, I'm going to send you the slides that we got, and then there's going to be a recording on our website, so I will send that too when it's ready. And we can end our webinar a little bit earlier. We don't have to be here until it's 2 o'clock in Finland, but it's perhaps 1 or 12 elsewhere.
Yeah, but thank you so much for Sarah, for Gina, for Anna, and also for in the morning for Neil and I don't remember the other.
Michael.
Yeah.
And in my perspective was so it was very rich. It was really inspiring, and there was a lot of new ideas and very good contents to. Well, thank you. I'm really wow.
Great. So am I.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.